Department of Permitting and Planning. We have Dawn Takeuchi Apuna, as well as Andy Sugg, Chief of Director, Mayor's Office, joining us today. Hey, Andy, there you are. Perfect.
Okay, we can just do that.
Are you able to hear us okay as well?
I think I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you as well.
Okay.
And then Dawn, let's try out your audio. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Yeah.
Excellent work, excellent work. All right, the gang's all here. Love it, love it. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for being here today. We are so honored to have these two state officials with us to share what is happening locally down at the mayor's office, as well as the Department of Permitting and Planning. And we're so very excited. So just to kick us off, we definitely want to thank our sponsors for being with us today. And we have got platinum sponsors, Freedom Mortgage, thank you, Kelly, The Loan Store, PennyMac, Lensure, thank you, Lisa Kathy, gold sponsors, Finance Factors, Title Guarantee, Angel Oak Mortgage Solutions, Territorial Savings, Accra Lending, Home Express, Foundation Mortgage, NewFi Lending, and we also have our silver sponsors, Deep Haven, Open Mortgage Wholesale, First Hawaiian Bank, The Lender, Remen, and Logan Finance. Thank you all for your sponsorships. You are what make HAMB fantastic and great, and we really appreciate your trust in us and supporting this organization so that we can bring you some great events, just like our educational event today. Couple of mention-worthy upcoming events. So remember, we've got our HAMB Conference 2025, September 17, that's a Wednesday. And then on the 19th, we will have the golf tournament with the Appraisal Institute. So if you haven't signed up already, please make sure that you're signing up. Also, tomorrow night, do not miss it. We've got at the rooftop of Anaha, Ward Village, we've got the Pauhana Lenders Roundtable, and we will be featuring our platinum sponsors and a couple of our silver sponsors, and they will be presenting about the latest and greatest that's happening in their fields and at their companies to educate you. Now, without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into our speakers today. So again, introducing Andy Sugg, Chief of Staff, Office of the Mayor. Welcome, Andy. Thanks for being with us today.
Hi, Judy. Yeah, thank you. It's Sugg, as in bug.
Sugg. Oh, I'm so sorry.
That's
Thank
okay.
you so much for that correction. I appreciate that.
It's been all my life, so I'm used to it.
And then, of course, we've got Dawn Takeuchi Apuna, Director down at the City and County Permitting and Planning. So tell us a little bit about your role, Andy, and what you do for the Mayor's Office.
Okay, I'll be quick because it's a rather undefined role, unlike Dawn's, which is very clear and obvious. So I'm kind of like the mayor's right-hand man, and I do a lot of project work for the city and county, big and small. Just trying to get projects pushed through, and that entails marshaling all the different departments at the city and county as they are needed in these different projects. I also do a lot of outward-facing stuff, so I'm out representing the mayor at different events, either with him or in his stead if he's busy with other things. So a lot of, there's a lot of constituent work that I do, but also, as I said, big projects. A couple of things that I'm working on now are the rehabilitation of the natatorium, which we're hoping to get moving along here in the next couple of years, and a project over in Kaimuki with an archery, Japanese archery facility that we're trying to build with the in partnership with a private foundation. Dawn and I work on some things together when there are properties that are derelict and we need to work on getting them taken care of. There are a couple that I have in mind and that we've been working on for well over a year. So it's a little bit of everything. There's no clear definition of my role, but I have my hands on a lot of different things.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Yes, when we met down at your office, I got the feeling that you are a very busy man, and being the right-hand man to the mayor, of course, you are having your hands in virtually everything. So thank you so much for your service, Andy. We really appreciate you being here today. Thank you.
Very
and
well.
Dawn, tell us a little bit about your role down at as director over at Department of City and Planning.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. So I'm the director at DPP. Basically, just handling all the permitting and planning needs of the city. But a lot of what this administration is doing is trying to make some major fixes to the department so that we can provide good service to the public. So that has been my job since September 2022. I became acting director. So a little over a couple years, maybe closer to 3 years now. And we have a lot going on. We've done a lot so far, and there's a lot in the future that will be a benefit to the public.
Awesome. Well, we are all looking forward to your presentation. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. During your presentation, when you show your screen, we'll click our cameras off. But as you start to wrap up, we will rejoin you with our cameras, and then that will open up the question and answer series.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and get started. We'll click off now, and then we'll join you in just a second. Thank you so much. Oops.
Okay. Can you see my screen?
We can see your screen, but we cannot see your screen, but it looks like your camera went off. Do you want to try to click your camera back on?
Okay, I'm sure. Okay, camera's on, and then.
Okay, perfect. Camera's back on. And then let's try to move your presentation over into the screen.
Okay.
So you'll have to move it into the screen right in front of you that has the forward view. That screen right there, that's where you want to pull it.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Not yet.
I have to. Okay, there. Can you see it now?
Perfect. Perfect. Excellent. Okay, wonderful. We'll see you right after the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Dawn.
Okay. So, thank you, everybody. So, we met with Judy and some others from HAMB a couple months ago, and we wanted to provide more information about the building permit process, which seems to directly impact mortgages and condominiums that are having issues with making repairs, etc. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the building permit process that we provide. So before I mentioned I started back in 2022, and at that time there was a major backlog in the building permits. There's a lot of complaints and we just needed to figure out a way to provide our services much faster. And so what created this backlog? There's many different things. Inadequate staffing. We've had at least a 25% vacancy rate across the department, but for important commercial building permit projects, we had only 2 electrical engineers, 2 mechanical, and a handful of building engineers for large-scale commercial projects. Lack of standard operating procedures. We never really had good SOPs in place so that staff and others knew how to best perform their duties. There's lack of training for staff as well. Also, there's increased code complexity over time, which meant more and additional complicated review of projects. There are also disruptive events, such as the federal indictments, which happened when I became deputy director in 2021. Just a couple months in, the FBI came in and arrested staff, including some really notable, or sorry, not notable, but important supervisors in the building permit area. And then antiquated processes and technology. So the picture on the right is a pneumatic tube that we were just using just a few years ago for payments to our Treasury Department. So this gives you an idea of the technology that we walked into. Very old, and of course that was something that we needed to take care of. Oh, and lack of management, just having the broader vision of what the department is needed to do and how to better perform. I think there was a lack of that can kind of just see what the issues were and how to fix them. And so this graph basically gives you an idea over time from 2010 to about 2022, there were some major events that happened, especially in the last few years. And so Department of Education, there were some impact fees that were required that changed the process. The federal indictments, as I had mentioned, in 2021, we can see the real spike began, and then we started auditing third-party review, which is outside of our department. So all this kind of contributed to an increase or a greater amount of backlog in the permitting building permits. Additionally, over time, as you can see from 2010 through about 2022, you don't really need to understand everything that's going on here, except that in the last 5 years, there are a lot of new ordinances that were put into place that basically made building permits a lot more complicated and complex. In 2017, there's Ordinance 1728, Stormwater Quality. The department was required to stand up a whole branch that would review stormwater quality of building permits. And then the next few years, there were a few monster homes ordinances that weren't, they're kind of complicated, and there wasn't good training on the inside and outside about how to apply those laws. So that added to more complication. And then our codes, building, electrical, energy codes, they all have cycles. So there's constant updating. And so staff have to, as well as applicants, learn what the new codes are. So all this buildup of regulations can definitely contributed to the backlog. So this graph is actually a table I presented back in 2022 to the City Council's Executive Management and Legal Committee. And what it shows basically is the breakdown of the permitting process and the time spent with DPP a building permit would take. So A1 and A2, it's called the pre-screen, and that's where you submit your plans. And we pre-screen it for just basic formatting And so A1, A2, in 2022, applicants were waiting 170 days just in line, in queue, in order for it to be pre-screened in 3 days, which was a manual review by staff. So that was about 6 months. And then A3, A4, the actual code review done by DPP. This is like the residential code review of building code, zoning, etc. You would wait 20 days in queue, and then the code review would take 40 days manually, so about 3 months in that phase. And then lastly, approved to issue in A5 was about 2 months, and that's just after the approval, kind of getting everything together and issuing the permit. So overall, the duration solely within DPP was about 298 days, and this does not account for the time that it would go back to the applicant or go to other agencies. So that would add significantly as well. So back in 2022, we're looking at 6 months in pre-screen, 3 months in code review, 2 months in approved to issue. But today we can say, based on a lot of management changes and clear expectations, the A1, A2 phase is about 1 week. So you're not sitting 6 months just to go to pre-screen. And then the residential code review by DPP is about 2 weeks. Approved to issue is now 2 days. And so the average just for in DPP for one review cycle is about 23 days. Again, that doesn't account for if it has to go to Board of Water Supply or HFD or other agencies for review, or it's being cycled back and forth with the applicant. Substantial. So to tell people, DPP's brought their time down to about less than a month, but you're not going to get it in a month because there's other agency reviews and there's other, the applicant themselves, they have to make corrections and send it back. But overall, we definitely were able to bring down these times. And so like the big question that everyone has is like, where's my permit? And I think there's been a misconception about it. Just, you know, you put your permit into DPP and it just sits there for 300, 400 days. And that's definitely not the case. As I had said, it's a back and forth with the applicant. So that gives you a good idea of how it starts with the applicant and it's submitted to DPP, and we review the plans, issue corrections, and it might go through other agencies that are pertinent to the project, depending on the scope of the project, and other city agencies. And then once that's done, it goes back to the applicant on the orange side to make corrections. And if the corrections are all made, then the permit will be issued. But if not, it will go back to the applicant and this cycle is renewed. So on average, cycles are about 1 to 3 for residential permits, more for commercial. But this is where we really want to let people know that the applicant plays, you know, half of the role of the whole permitting process. It's not simply stuck in DPP. Good quality plans from the get-go are so important so that you can get through in one cycle and get closer to the 1 month for a residential permit. Sorry, that shows it goes back. So again, where's my permit? This was a snapshot in November 2024 in the first 2 columns, and then April 2025. And what it shows you, if you just did a snapshot during these times, 58% in November 2024 were with the applicant, meaning they're making corrections or it was sitting in their queue. And we had stormwater quality is a review we do outside of the code review. And there was a backlog there for a while at 16% of the applicants there. Residential plans examiner 5.4, etc. And then in April, we got the stormwater backlog down. But as you can see again, most of the time the applications are with the applicant. They're not with DPP. And this is just another way of looking at it, a snapshot. By far, the red is with the applicant versus all these other review agencies. And then there was I guess there was a play, I didn't go to it, but they wanted, the plot was how they had this building permit with DPP that took just a very long, like years. But when we looked at the actual permit, the data shows that it was with the applicant for 1,259 days of a total of 1,351 days. So when people say it's been with DPP for so long, they're not telling you the whole truth, that it is often with the applicant. So what are we doing? What can you do to improve plan quality to reduce review cycles? So this is to help the applicant side, because the more they can do to provide quality plans or address comments quickly, the faster the permit will go. So acknowledging the problem, building code compliant plans, reading and addressing the comments, and using our e-plans, electric plans, where it can tell you exactly where the permit is, who's had it for what amount of time, what the comments are, and what is DPP doing. So we've done a lot in our own code review. We've brought down those times, but we know that plan quality is important on the outside. So we are implementing AI, artificial intelligence, with a company called CivCheck, and we believe that will be running by fall. And that's a guided review through AI that helps to ensure that as you're creating the application, you're using the right codes, you're more code compliant, everything is a lot more ready before the application is even submitted for DPP. This is going to reduce the number of review cycles by at least 1 or 2. DPP is also training staff for clear, consistent comments, and we're trying to increase capacity for more direct communication and interaction with applicants. And we're engaging with stakeholders. We're working with DIA and AIA and others to just kind of understand their perspective and see if we're doing enough on our side to educate and to make the process overall better. So again, some of the ongoing improvements. First, on the left, our Evolve e-plans upgrade. We completed this in 2024. There are 2 major upgrades that now allow the landowner to be added as someone that can look at the status of a permit, where it's been, how much time from another agency or the applicant, and the comment. And clarity is just to give you an idea about what CivCheck can do, the AI, it will be able to reduce average residential review time by 70% by our reviewers. So that's going to cut down time further. And then for stormwater quality, where I had shown the backlog, that's going to cut down review time by 46%. So with that, that's my presentation. It's pretty short, but I just wanted to give you an overview of what we're doing, what we're working on, how we're addressing the issues, and I'm here for any questions. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dawn, for that presentation. That was so very informative. I'm so excited about the AI piece that you referred to. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah, so we recently saw in-house a demo for that. So that's going to basically, the applicants will use that system to help them go through the application, make sure they're well, they kind of submit all the documents, and the AI is able to look through a lot of that, and it can point out, make a checklist of what is compliant with some green lights, and then what is kind of missing. And then that way the applicant can look at what's missing, and they can go back and make changes and modify it so that the application is ready to go. And then it's certified by the AI. And then when it comes to DPP, it helps our reviewers because the AI can do only so much. There's definitely gray areas in code, and that's when the plan reviewer takes over and the AI points out these grayer, more discretionary parts, and they're able to kind of do the review from that part. So yeah, it's going to be required prior to the building permit application submittal, but we know that it's going to cut down the amount of time that it cycles through manual review, but it will also help to guide and educate applicants about providing better plans.
That's awesome. So from what I'm hearing you say, it's not that the AI program is going to take over the review process, but more be as an assistant to the reviewers, kind of checking off the major items per se, and then those really gray areas that need to be dialed in are still going to be left to a manual reviewer or expert reviewer, but at least it speeds everything up. What do you think the time saved between a traditional onboarding of a permitting application without the AI versus with the AI? What do you think the time saved there would be?
I think that, like I had said, there on average we have like 1 to 3 review cycles, maybe more per application now. I think it'll cut that in half, maybe better. So, it could cut down, yeah, like by 50% the review time.
That is amazing. And I remember from the meeting that we had in this, you, Dawn, were pretty much single-handedly responsible for many of the automation systems that exist down at the department now, correct?
Well, my team, I have a really great team, but we're all about, not just trying to get above water. Like we really want to be super fast and take advantage of all the technology that's out there now. So we won't stop at just the technology that I talked about today. We're looking at other ways that AI can assist us, assist our inspectors in the field. There's just a lot of opportunity. And so you'll see that as time goes by.
That is so amazing. So when you were doing your presentation, I was thinking about a few different things that you brought up. And just for everyone on the call, our question box is now open. So please start to type in your questions, and we will do our best to get them to Dawn and Andy so that they can answer any questions that you have. So go ahead and start typing them in now. Lisa Cathy's going to monitor the box. So you had mentioned during your presentation, Dawn, that 25% vacancy across the department when you first took over in September of 2022. How is that looking now? Are the seats filled? Do we still have some vacancies? We've got some realtors, contractors, insurance guys, everybody you can imagine on these calls. Maybe somebody's got an opportunity to join your team.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Yeah, I mean, as much as technology is playing a major role, definitely the capacity is just as important, maybe even more. The biggest struggle with hiring has been with the engineers. It's very competitive. Federal and private can pay a lot more, but over the past few years, the Blangiardi administration has worked with the union as well as our human resources department, and we're able to raise some of the pay scales of engineers. I think we still have a ways to go, but that has been an important part to attract and retain engineers. So we've made some headway. but there's still vacancies that we're trying to fill, but we're excited. When we get fully, the capacity that we need, it's just going to be even faster, especially for the commercial projects.
Awesome. And you had mentioned that, one of the biggest issues when we have applications and plans being submitted to the department is, the contractors or the engineers coming in with the good quality plan versus a not so good quality plan. Can you give us some tips as far as what a good quality plan is, some of the things that they can really lean into that would be very helpful to get their applications through?
Yeah, and I think it comes down to a lot of the basics, just knowing which code applies, right? Like I had mentioned, how codes change, just understanding the code. I know there's a lot of good designers out there that aren't a problem, but even our AI vendor, they did some research, and their understanding is that we have been designing by corrections, or people are designing by the corrections that we provide. So it's just, hiring the right contractors, the right design professionals, and making sure that they understand the full scope of what they're presenting, and that it's code compliant. So yeah, and we have some information on our website. I can forward that about what we think is good for more higher quality plans for submittal.
Thank you.
Okay, we have quite a few questions in here. Do you want me to go through them, or you want to?
Yeah, let's go ahead and start. Go for it.
I have, and sorry if I'm out of order, guys, if you wrote before, but I have a tiny box to read out of, so I apologize. So Jennifer asks, notices of violation are being sent to single-family homeowners who are not the violators. Sellers of properties are unaware of the concept of surface encroachments relating to the CNC area that includes sidewalks, mailboxes, trees, artificial turf, and rocks. Sellers may have surveys done during an escrow, but the surveys do not address surface encroachment, so buyers of houses do not have the proper disclosures from the sellers. Owners are given a 60-day period to repair sidewalks. May I volunteer my time and expertise to better explain the impact on single-family homes and the inconsistent in the current and the inconsistencies in the current rules?
Sure. Yeah, and no, so I know this is a issue that there's not a lot of clarity, at least in the media, about it. The sidewalk surface encroachment. So people, right? It's basically they don't own that, but they're responsible for the upkeep of that area. Probably beyond their front yard, along the sidewalk. So we do have the variance process. So if you want to do something different with what's in that area, that you can apply to make those differences. But we are also kind of changing the rule a little to make it more streamlined and making it clear. But yeah, if they want to email me or provide more information, we can look at it or kind of have a discussion about what makes sense.
Thank you, Dawn. I had some, let me see, I can't see who this is for some reason. I apologize. But that it takes a very long time for the resumes to get to the department from HR. And by the time they get there, all the good ones are already gone. Is there anything to be done to speed up the process?
Yeah, so HR, Department of Human Resources at the city, much like DPP, the mayor has, kind of put them to task that there needs to be some improvements as well. And yeah, because it affects not just DPP, but all the other agencies in the city. And I totally agree. It takes too long, and then the good candidates are swept up. But HR is definitely working on improving their ability to service the departments and get good applicants in. But totally agree, something that we are working on with HR too.
And this one, the next question addresses the shoreline setback rules taking place July 1st. He's saying there are numerous projects impacted that are stuck at SHPD. Are there any plans to grandfather the impacted applicants to allow for SHPD backlog?
Yeah, that's I mean, Shifty for not just shoreline, but a lot of, just construction projects in general has been a major issue. So we have the Oahu Historic Preservation Commission that was stood up a couple years ago, and it's housed within DPP. And the intent of that commission is to facilitate faster review, potentially through DPP, to take some of the load off of Shifty. And I think there's other projects in the works to help Shifty or help the state figure out how they're going to improve that process, because yeah, that if anything, that's one of the major backlogs at this point for not just shoreline, but building permits. As far as grandfathering, so some of the shoreline things, it's kind of like case by case. We can look at it and see if there's a good reason to kind of extend or allow, but it is case by case.
Thank you, Dawn. The next question says, what are the current turnaround times for residential reservation plans? To approve, to inspect after work is complete, just the general time frame to close a permit.
So a couple of things with that question, which is a great question. Each project, the projects are so diverse. It's hard for us, even when I say an average time, it doesn't really kind of communicate what an average time is, because residential, which is 1 and 2 family and includes all these other smaller projects, it wouldn't give you a fair indication. And then also, I'd say that our posse system, which is very old, it's not capable of managing data in a way that helps us to really look at permitting times. But, I think that if you generally, as I had mentioned, if you're able to have good quality plans and really are on top of it, have your designer on top of it to quickly make corrections as soon as they get it and resubmit it, call the inspector when you know the work is done, because we even have problems with that. There's ways that definitely the applicant can be more involved and just have their eyes on everything, that I think everything can go through pretty quickly. And then I would just add, with the Clarity system, the new permitting software, we will have better data and be able to share, specific type of permits, what is the average time? And so that will be a good thing as well.
Now, I'm going to interject here. I saw an article that came out March 6th, Dawn, about how you are developing a new program that builders will not have to wait for DPP to review a project to ensure that it meets the city building code. Instead, the department will issue a permit based on architects or engineers' self-certification that their plans are satisfactory. Can you talk a little bit about that? That's
Sure.
so exciting.
Yeah, so it's just another option that we created for self-certification of engineers and architects if they want to go through the process of being self-certified. So there's a test and other qualifications that they must meet, and it's all on our website. But and then if they meet them, they want to self-certify their project. They're basically saying, with their engineer or architectural stamp, that they know and that they've designed to code, and so they're certifying it, and they're just going to move through without DPP code review. There may be other reviews that are required, like the stormwater or Shifty, obviously, and other agencies, but as far as the code, they can sign off on that themselves.
Oh, wow. That sounds like it's going to give a really big lift to the community. When might that program come into play?
Oh, so we recently opened it up, and so we've had some applicants. I think there's been a few that have gone through the testing. I think there's like an insurance requirements, but yeah, it's definitely there and it's open. It's for specific types of projects. Bill 7 projects, which are like apartment, affordable housing projects, solar, and then commercial interior non-structural what do you call it? Projects, commercial renovation projects.
Now, when you say commercial renovation projects, and I know that we talked about this in your office about the condominium buildings and the repiping and many of the renovations that they're going through in order to maintain or get their insurance back if they've lost it. Does that include, will this fast track that you're speaking of for the architectures, will that include the condominium projects as well?
I think so. If it's non-structural, yeah, renovations, then they could apply, those design professionals could apply to be self-certified designers, and then they could use that process.
That's awesome. And then would there be like, for the architectures, would there be like a registration list that the department, that they've got to apply to the department, and then the department will keep this list of who is allowed to use this fast track process? Or is it just anyone that holds an architectural or engineering license?
Yeah, it's whoever applies and is certified, tested. I don't know if we would necessarily have a list out there, but I think that would be something that the individual could advertise. You know, I'm self-certified through DPP, and I'm able to get these types of projects through self-certification.
Oh, wow, that is huge. Thank you, Dawn. I'm really looking forward to seeing that unfold over the next year or so, and how it impacts everyone in the community. That is so amazing. Andy, do you have anything that you'd like to jump in and add to this?
No, not specifically. I just want to let everyone know the great work that Dawn and her team have been doing. I don't know if everyone has a real sense of how bad the department was before Mayor took over and Dawn took over in 22. But there were some real deep-seated endemic problems. And I know Dawn mentioned the arrests, but that was just really that was the most high-profile stuff. They've really changed the culture over there in a big, big way. And we know there's still frustration out there about some of the processes, but you know, it's like turning around an aircraft carrier. It takes a little while, and the work that Dawn and her deputy Brian and their team have been doing is nothing short of phenomenal. You know, Mayor laid this out a year and a half ago in his State of the City, and the progress that's been made in the past 13 or 14 months since that speech has really been remarkable. So Dawn deserves a great deal of credit, and I'm sure that you and the folks that you deal with and your clients are seeing a real change in what's going on at DPP. And as I said, the administration and the mayor made it a huge priority. I mean, the three big priorities he outlined last year in his State of the City were DPP, homelessness, and housing. And we continue to work hard at those three sort of legs of the stool every day. But we've come a long way. And, you know, as Dawn mentioned, when the new software is online, it's just going to change things dramatically. So big round of applause for the folks at DPP. They've taken a lot of heat over the years, and they deserve real credit for everything that's going on.
100%. I ditto that. I agree with that, Andy, 100%. And what you are saying is absolutely true. I had some customers with their real estate agent and their contractor in my office the other day, and they had mentioned to me that they got their permits to tear down and rebuild in less than 6 months. And you know, I thought they were fibbing. but it is due to Dawn's hard work and her team's hard work, and of course your support there from the mayor's office. So we appreciate you both for everything that you do for us, and we appreciate you listening, to organizations, and so that we can give you a little bit of input on what it looks like from the outside, so that we can help to, if any way, ignite some of these changes that are forthcoming. And we're so excited that you're here to share all of that with us, as well as keep us abreast of what you've been doing and what your team has been doing. And all of it is just really, really exciting information. Lisa, Kathy, do we have any more questions?
Just a couple short ones. One person wanted to know if there was any way to fast track a simple permit for an existing space without hiring an architect or engineer.
That's a good question. I know, we always recommend having a professional do it, but I think that's something down the road that we're looking at, so that, mom and pops can come in and just have at least more guidance about really simple projects. But yeah, it's right now where we're at, I think it's just, we do recommend people get professionals to help them. And it shouldn't, if it really is that simple, it shouldn't be too costly, I would think. But it's better to do that and do it the right way, and not, have issues down the line that may be more costly.
And then I had one more. If you knew the turnaround time for solar panel permit completion.
So for residential solar, we have instant online. So usually, you hire some solar contractor, and then if it's residential, it's single or two family, it should be automatic unless there's issues like you're in a flood zone or there's a shifty concern. But other than that, it should be automatic. For commercial, it does need to go through our commercial review with the engineers. And so I think the review time for electrical, it's about a month. But there may be other, depending on what it's connected to, there may be other system reviews.
Thank you. I think we've got a few more questions that I can see coming in. One of the questions is, so just so you know, we've got plenty of real estate agents on this call. So some of their questions are specific to their jobs and how it can enhance their experience. So they're speaking about closed permits. And once the permit is closed, how long about does it take to be updated on the website? So when they're searching it for their buyers and sellers, what can they expect the lag time to be?
For it to be closed, so that it just,
It's closed for it to start showing on the website about the movement in the permit.
Yeah, I would have to check on that. I'm not sure. I mean, usually the inspectors will close it out, and then their status, at least in the posse system, it should be updated pretty quickly. But I'd have to see. I don't know what the current average time is.
I think I've personally seen within about a week, meaning that I've had, an inspector go out, say on a Wednesday, and then when we recheck the system, the following week, it's usually been updated. So I think it's maybe about, 5 to 10 business days, depending upon if there's a holiday in the middle or something like that. We've got a question about monster homes. So obviously there's been a lot of talk in the community about monster homes coming up in communities, bringing in additional traffic, things like that. Can you talk a little bit about monster homes and the city and county's take on them?
Sure. So monster homes, like building permits, were a major issue about 2-3 years ago, right? So we tackled it by improving our internal processes. There's like double checks on FAR, floor area ratio. If it came close to the limits for the monster homes ordinances, inspectors were required to do additional inspections. And then we revoked about 13 monster homes a few years ago, and that kind of shocked the system. There was a monster home, I think it was in the news recently, on Sierra Drive. We took that, we revoked that permit, and then they appealed to the Building Board of Appeals, but we prevailed on that. And I think that kind of, it was in the news and people understood that we're not just going to let these things slide anymore. So our, through it all, there was an audit on monster homes before this administration, and there was a recent follow-up audit to see if we had done everything that the auditor had recommended on monster homes, and we actually did really well. People can look that up on the city auditor's page, but we made many improvements. We asked the council to increase fines specifically for monster homes violations, and so I think it has become less of a problem. There's definitely those that sprung up before this administration that we really don't, or before the monster homes ordinances. So they're legal, even though they aren't under current building standards. But there's those that I know people are like, that's a monster home, but we can't do anything about it because it was permitted under the prior law. So we continue to enforce, and we think we have improved when it's come to monster homes.
Thank you. And then just for everyone listening, can you tell us what the definition of a monster home is so that we can be on the lookout?
Yeah, so monster homes, and yeah, it's hard to just look at it, but if you see a home that's being built and the floor area ratio is important. So that's like the ratio between the floor area of the structure to the lot size, and that if it exceeds like 0.6, then there's more like greater setbacks are required, and if it's above, or if it hits 0.75 or higher, that's completely not allowed. So if it does look like really large and it's just, you know, bursting at the seams within that lot, it potentially could be. So even though we may have permitted the home, we've seen where the construction has exceeded those limits. So definitely you can report it to us and we can check it out. We can see if they're not building to the plans, and then we would do whatever we need to do, issue a violation or revoke the permit so that they would comply.
Thank you. Thank you. And then another thing that is being brought up is in regards to homes that have existing non-permitted square footage. So we've got a lot of homes obviously in Hawaii, Honolulu, that have non-permitted square footage, and then they're being sold, right, between the sellers to the new buyers. And the new buyers may or may not have the intention to go in for the after the fact permitting and get those spaces permitted. But in the meanwhile, they're also worried, about being fined along the way if they've discovered that they've got non-permitted square footage. Can you speak a little bit about single-family residences, non-permitted square footage, after the fact permitting, and some of those things?
Sure, I think that, that is a common occurrence. We encourage people to come in for after the fact permits. It wouldn't, I don't think that there'd necessarily be a violation if you're like unknowingly the square footage is there and it wasn't permitted. Our violations are issued based on complaint. So it would be someone complaining that there's more square footage, but that would be rare, if they just bought it that way. So I wouldn't worry about a violation if you just say, I'm trying to fix this, I wasn't aware, I just want the permit to recognize the square footage. I think that shouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be a violation. We appreciate people correcting the square footage through a permit.
Awesome. Let me see if we've got any more questions here. Question coming in from Jennifer Busto. What's a non-structural renovation?
So non-structural, like where you're not moving structural beams, or where there's like major changes in the plumbing, I think, location. But it's like at Ala Moana, right? You have a store and they're just kind of changing the interior. But I can probably get a better definition. I don't want to say that that's the official definition, but yeah, that's, I think that would be helpful for you guys too, so you understand what that would be, because that is what self-certified and what the AI is going to cover non-structural alterations to commercial as well. So that's going to be helpful.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that you're not, a non-structural renovation would be, we're not changing the footprint, we're not moving the plumbing around. We're just, what about if we are reconfiguring the bedrooms? Meaning I'm taking a 4-bedroom and I'm knocking down one of the walls to make it a big master. Would that be considered a non-structural renovation?
I believe so, but I'm going to check with our building chief just to be sure. I don't want to lead you guys astray. Yeah.
Great. And let's see here. Please share the administration's efforts to allow city and county residents to have a legal pathway to hosting TVUs. And that's from John Whittington. I'm not sure if maybe that would be for you or for Andy. I think we just clicked off.
So, since the ordinance 22.7, there was a clear, intent behind that law from the council and the mayor to restrict short-term rentals within residential areas and only allow them in resort areas unless you have a non-conforming use certificate. So that's the current understanding, and that's how we're enforcing. If that should change, then we will change appropriately, but that's where we're at right now.
Okay, thank you. Well, we are at the top of the hour, everybody. It is 11 a.m. and Dawn has got a very busy day ahead of her, as she has already mentioned. Dawn, what is a great way for some of these folks to follow up with the department if they have additional questions or want to get additional information?
So they can follow up with me, or I don't know if you're gathering information, or I can send information to you and you want to forward it to your group. That would be fine. I think there's some questions that were left half answered, so I can provide that. And then in general, we do have resources on our web page that may be helpful. I know there's a lot of information on there, but there's definitely good stuff on there that people should look at and read.
Awesome. So for everyone on this call, you will receive the recorded webinar after this. So watch for the email. It'll come within the next 24 hours. I will get with Dawn to get the specific email address that you can use, as well as the email contact that you can use. And then we will distribute that out to everyone. And then feel free to reach out, get additional information. We appreciate everyone being on our call today. We appreciate you, Dawn, being here and sharing this update. This is the first of its kind that we've had here at HAMB, as well as in the community. And we are just so very thrilled that you were able, willing, and cleared your calendar to be with us today. And thank you for that amazing presentation. We really, really appreciate you and everything that your agency is doing for us here in Hawaii.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Let me just keep working on it, and then if you have any questions, then call me.